When you have a consumer complaint, you call News 10 NBC. As your advocate, we work for you.
So when a consumer called us about her contractor, we began digging, poring through records and documents. And that's when News 10 NBC consumer investigator Deanna Dewberry found information that shocked all of us.
This viewer grew up here in Rochester, moved away, but always wanted to return. Recently, she bought a condo and planned to retire here. She hired a local contractor to remodel it, but she had no idea she had hired a dead man walking.
The whole place is beautiful.
Susan Sipes' newly purchased condo sits on the shore of Canandaigua Lake. She hired AS Contracting to remodel it.
My goddaughter had used him and been happy with him, and I asked her, I thought, all the right questions.
The contractor charged her more than $24,000 and promised to finish the work in 6 weeks. Completion date, November 10th. When you walked in this door.
Oh my gosh. It was devastating.
Devastating because her condo is supposed to be finished. Instead, she found a toilet in the kitchen, no running water, and wires dangling from the sheetrock.
It's hard to do a project like this long distance where you can't just stop in every few days and look.
Sipes lives in Seattle. In text messages, the contractor promised he'd finish early, before Halloween, but he refused to send pictures of his progress. Then he sent this text message asking for more money.
Gave him floor plans of things.
So Sipes surprised him, arriving 3 days before the scheduled completion date. What did he tell you his name was?
Al Bosley.
She says this is the man she believes is Al Bosley.
I Googled him online and didn't really come up with anything.
So I searched for Al Bosley in government records, social media, the BBB, the BCB, nothing. Finally, I found the real Al Bosley. Here. He's dead. Alvis Bosley died 17 years ago. So who's this man, the man Susan hired to remodel her condo? His name is Alvis Sprague. Let me show you this first. I brought Susan to the station to show her what we uncovered. We found a list of Alvis Sprague's relatives. And as we went through those relatives, we found Al Bosley, deceased.
Wow.
So why would Alvis Sprague use the name of a dead relative? Perhaps to escape his past. Alvis Sprague is a 4-time felon. The latest? Grand larceny.
Oh my goodness. Obviously it didn't do a lot of good, did it?
I found 32 court filings against Alvis Sprague in Monroe County alone. Here's another civil judgment, another civil, another civil, another civil. But that's not all. Just last week, Monroe County Sheriff's deputies launched an investigation of Sprague in a different case. Again, he's accused of taking payment for work he did not do. AS Contracting has an F rating with the BBB, but Al Sprague is not listed as the owner. Instead, it lists his live-in girlfriend, Sarah Crawford. She wasn't at home when I visited the couple, but a relative confirmed they both live at this Greece address. I did reach Sprague by text. He concedes that he did use his father's name in online postings and email. He said he created the email address because I missed my father and still do. He points to the fact he did sign a proposal with his real name, and he insists he does great work, texting, "You're not dealing with one of these rip-off contractors with alcohol and drug problems." But 2 of his 4 felony convictions are for DWI.
He sent me pictures of the crew.
Susan wanted an independent evaluation of the quality of his work, so she hired the Better Contractors Bureau.
There's a lot of work left to be done here, so he's probably way overpaid.
In his inspection, BCB President Carmen Santora said the work is shoddy, and he's especially concerned about the electrical wiring.
The electrical is a fire hazard.
In fact, he found the breakers were still on, indicating live wires could be dangerously dangling from the unfinished walls.
It's really a mess. I mean, as far as maybe some of the studying and things like that, but to finish this job, you need actual professionals.
As for Susan, the experience has soured her dream of returning to her childhood home of Rochester.
It's pretty devastating, and you know, he's saying another $20,000. I don't know how we're going to do that.
After we contacted Al Sprague, he and his girlfriend reached out to Susan saying they wanted to settle the matter. I'll let you know if they agree to refund some of her money. Before you hire a contractor, here's Deanna's do list. Get at least 3 bids. Do a background check, like checking the BBB. Get a written legal contract. We have an example of what it should look like on our website, WHEC.com. Never pay full price up front. Report problems to the BBB, the Attorney General's Office, and the Better Contractors Bureau. We have all this information for you on our website, again, WHEC.com. Deanna Dewberry, News 10 NBC.
Tonight we begin with a News 10 NBC investigation that potentially affects all of us. You may be planning holiday travel. Perhaps you're planning a trip for winter break in February. And listen up.
Tonight we feature two local couples' heartbreaking stories. Both planned trips of a lifetime. And because those trips were expensive, they bought travel insurance. But when the unexpected happened and they tried to collect, their insurers said no. So they dialed Deanna. Sun, sand, serenity, a celebration they'd never forget. John and Carrie Vag were set to spend their 25th wedding anniversary at a Mexican resort.
It was just a matter of finally having a little bit of a break from our busy lives.
Together they'd raised 3 kids, rarely taking time for themselves. Finally, with their kids all grown up, they'd saved up, and they'd prepaid for their anniversary trip in full, almost $5,000.
Thought it was really important to be there for our anniversary, even though it was hurricane season.
They were worried, so their travel agent made a suggestion.
She said, oh, well, the travel insurance, it covers everything. And so we felt good about it. We paid the extra.
$270 extra. Peace of mind for the unexpected. And then the unexpected. Their oldest child, the boy who grew to be a big man with a very big heart, was dead at 24, a heroin overdose.
My son had been doing very well. He had not used in 2 years.
Now Cody was gone. And on the very day his parents had been scheduled to leave for their anniversary trip,
I was burying my son that day.
this, his parents say, was a tragedy they did not foresee, a tragedy they believed would be covered by their insurance. After all, the policy says it covers cancellation if it occurs because of serious injury, death, or sickness of a family member. But when she called her insurance representative,
She read another byline in the contract which stated that if it was decided that it was intentional or suicide, that our contract would be null and void, and therefore we would not get any of our money reimbursed to us.
In my lifetime, I don't think any insurance policy ever covered that.
Lynn DeMaria has sold travel insurance for decades, but she argues this case could be different.
This young man was not trying to harm himself. This was an addiction.
It's an argument that might support payment of their claim. You bought insurance believing that you were totally protected.
Correct.
Mike and Alyssa Ranaletta are also battling their travel insurer. The newlyweds planned a honeymoon in February at a resort in the Florida Keys, but it has not been easy for this couple.
About 6 weeks before our wedding, my mother-in-law's breast cancer came back, and within about 4 weeks of it coming back, she had passed away.
Her mother-in-law died a week before the wedding. Little did they know she had left them some money, a belated wedding present. They got a letter weeks after her death.
It said, use this for something fun for the two of you.
Her gift from beyond the grave would pay for their honeymoon. Because their tickets were non-refundable, the couple bought travel insurance offered on Expedia's website.
Click here and your flight will be refunded in full.
And then this. In September, Hurricane Irma pummeled Florida.
Destroyed our resort in Isla Mirada.
So the resort gave the couple a full refund. Next, they tried to get the money back for their airline tickets, but their travel insurer said no.
And they had said that my claim was denied because neither me or my husband had passed away.
In its denial letter, Expedia's insurer said it would only provide a refund for specific stated reasons, one of which is death. Experts agree Expedia's inexpensive policy is far more limited than most travel insurance policies. In fact, News 10 NBC investigators studied the benefits for a dozen travel plans. All provided refunds if weather damages or destroys your destination. That should be covered by your travel insurance.
It would be covered, absolutely. It should be covered.
I contacted Expedia. It still said no. So then I contacted Frontier Airlines directly, and it gave Mike and Alyssa a full refund, more than $500.
But I assumed that everything would be fine.
As for Carrie, all is not fine. I contacted her insurer, Berkshire Hathaway. It refused comment, citing privacy concerns, but it has not yet decided whether it will pay her claim. Carrie prays it does. She has plans for the money.
I wanted to get the reimbursement to pay for my son's headstone. It shouldn't be an issue of giving us our money back.
Of course, we'll continue to follow their case and we'll let you know what happened. So now you may be asking, should I buy travel insurance? Here are the critical questions you need to ask. Is the trip expensive, prepaid, and months away? If you answered yes to any of those questions, you should consider travel insurance. Now, when shopping, here's Deanna's do list. Consider buying from sites like Insure My Trip and Square Mouth. They list dozens of policies, allowing you to compare coverage and price. Consider coverage that, at a minimum, covers cancellation for illness and death, weather, loss of your job, your destination is inhabitable. Always read the benefit summary and exclusion pages. Always. We have so much information online. Go to WHEC.com for links, for interviews, for cost info. It'll all be there for you tonight. A Rochester restaurant employee recently emailed me pictures of the kitchen where he works. Those pictures show mold, mouse droppings, filth. But when the health department inspected the restaurant, they cited it with no critical violations. And here's why. While mouse droppings may make you squirm, they don't necessarily pose an immediate health risk. In tonight's Restaurants Exposed report, we take a look at that restaurant and examine the process inspectors take in deciding whether a restaurant compromises your safety.
Droppings next to food, grease that never got changed.
And when you say droppings, you're saying mouse droppings?
Mouse. Yes, absolutely.
Evan Archibald says he worked at Pontillo's Pizzeria on Park Avenue in Rochester for almost a year. And you actually saw mice while you were there?
Daily basis.
And this, he says, concerned him most. He took these pictures inside the walk-in cooler where food is stored. They showed what he says are mouse droppings littering the floor. And we could see raw chicken that was uncovered.
Uncovered, literally inches away, on top of the droppings.
He also documented dough racks covered in what appears to be mold, as well as dirty floors and cutting boards. And he didn't stop there.
I contacted the health department. Within 3 hours of me contacting them, they were there.
The health inspector cited it with 9 violations, noting that the floor is soiled with grease and mouse droppings. But none is deemed a critical violation that puts public health at risk. That shocked Evan. He wants to know
why droppings next to food wasn't a critical hit.
That's our question, too. Commissioner Mike Mendoza is out of town. Deputy Commissioner Frank Golisano declined my request for an interview, but sent me this email explaining that if the health inspector had found droppings in the food, the violation would have been critical. That appears to contradict what Commissioner Mendoza told us in an interview 3 months ago. He explained why mouse droppings in food storage areas is a risk to public health.
If they're in the food storage areas, you have to assume that they've been in and around the food. Otherwise, they wouldn't. That's why they go to those areas. So that's why we presume that they've been involved in the food.
But Deputy Commissioner Golisano insists the health department followed the letter of the law when inspecting Pontillo's. He also points out the restaurant was ordered to clean up and was found to be much improved a week later. Yes, may I speak to Catherine, please? The owner of the Park Avenue Pontillo's declined an interview, but spoke to me by phone. He had lots of pictures of the floor with mouse droppings. She doesn't dispute these are mouse droppings, but she insists she hired an exterminator months ago. And even though she still had droppings on the floor in late June, she says they were old droppings. As for the ones in the cooler, she says they were stuck to the floor and hard to remove. There will be some who will be concerned about the fact that there were frozen rodent droppings in your cooler, and it took the health department coming in telling you to clean it up, and it wasn't done independently of them. She points to the fact that the restaurant is clean now, and she insists that Evan is a disgruntled, attention-seeking ex-employee. You say what to that?
The photos don't lie.
So we want our consumer investigations to empower you, the consumer. So with my report, I'll always give you Deanna's do list. Things we can all do to assure that our restaurants are safe. If you're going out to eat tonight, you can check the restaurant's inspection record yourself. We have a link on our website, WHEC.com. Also, if you see a problem, report it. We have a link for that as well.